You can fire me. I'm not coming to jobs. I'm playing golf.
I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground. You have to be smarter than the TV.
Continue with the next
Sometimes you have to be smarter than a Ziploc
Why do you
bag.
need all that? That's like if you showed up to play softball on my team and you wore jeans, you weren't playing.
Yeah.
I'd rather have you with no pants on. I want to be Hank Floyd.
Hank Floyd. We need Hank Floyd here in town to clean up our city council.
Oh, he would. Trust me. Yes, hello. Hey, it's another episode of Gamble and Finn's Larger Than Live. Season 3, I believe it's episode 4, if my counting serves me correctly. I'm Gamble, he's Finn. Don't forget, check it out as you are right now on the YouTube. We've gone away from Facebook, now Meta, whatever that is. What does that even mean? What does Meta mean? I mean,
It's supposed to be a bigger-than-life universe.
Right,
it should play right into what we do.
Oh,
but
yeah, should.
the irony
But anyway.
is, I don't know if you are aware of this, but apparently
Probably not.
I can't even think of what's the name of the
That's a
language
good point.
spoken in Israel? The language. I don't want to say Yiddish. It's not Yiddish.
Israeli?
I don't know. What is the language spoken by the Jewish culture? I feel terrible not knowing this. Well, whatever. The bottom line is, it's not Yiddish. It's whatever it is. But the bottom line is, they came out and said, "Good for you, Mark," because meta means dead in that language. So,
well, you know what? For me, that would be awesome if it just went away. Tremendous. Maybe some people would get some other things done. But nonetheless, we digress. We've got a lot to get to. It's our special, wonderful, optimistic Thanksgiving week edition. But we're going to do that separate. We're going to give you a little thing, get a little extra around Thanksgiving, because what would a Thanksgiving holiday be without a message from the two of us?
It'll be an episode with a side of more of us.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
yes.
We want to get things started because last week we never did get a chance to, and we would have liked to have spoken about this probably on the WLW show Thursday night, where you'll normally find us 9 to midnight for what we call the reality check, because there's somebody who's about to get a big fat reality check. There's a lot of somebody's actually, and they're going to be writing big fat reality checks when all is said and done over this Astro World thing.
Yeah, and I want to start this because it's so ironic how all of this came down. So I'm teaching an event planning and management class at Northern Kentucky University this semester, and I thought, because of your history of managing a facility, a venue, Bogart's up in Short Vine and Clifton, 2 stints, the most recent being a 5-year stint as GM up until November of 2019.
Yes.
Good timing by you, by the way. But actually, as it turns out, it was.
It was great.
But you came in, and it was the day before, if I'm not mistaken.
I was thinking back about this. I think it was Tuesday.
Okay.
It was Tuesday of that week.
Right, because it occurred AstroWorld 2021, which the debacle that became was Friday evening. So that week, and you talked about it, and the way I kind of do my guest speakers is, I've had enough of the Fred comes in and we just give him a monologue and you look around the room and people are like, really? Because sometimes Fred tells you life history isn't necessary. I want you to address subject matter that we're talking about, and you did a great job, and you went into, because you were brutally honest, which is what I want guest speakers to be. We don't have enough honesty in the world, and you presented anything and everything about the concert, being a promoter, being the host venue, dealing with all different genres, people, customers, security, and you really kind of led itself into, it was kind of funny because the following Tuesday I said, amazing how that timing worked out. But when you were asked about this, you pointed out how there were many times hosting shows at Bogart's where you were apprehensive because you had the vision that something like this possibly could occur.
And what's interesting about it is coming to it from, because you're into planning events. So it might be bringing something in like for instance, the Crosstown Showdown, Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown, but you don't own the venue. So somebody else, you have to count on them to have all their emergency operation plans, all of these other things in place. What I had to, as you mentioned, deal with is I had to be the building. I also had to put the entertainment in there, and I had to put the people in there and provide alcohol and all of those things. So putting all of those things together already is a monumental task of putting things together that sometimes maybe don't necessarily go together. Like there's some shows we were like, well, we probably shouldn't open the bar for this show. But the bar ended up making more money than the ticket sales. So you have to do that. But from a standpoint of, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so, it came down to this. And it was because Live Nation owned and operated Bogart's. Okay, that's also who was one of the promoter partners, not the only promoter partner, but a promoter partner in this event. And I watched what happened with AstroWorld, and this was crowd surge, and it was really a lack of training on the part of security. And the reason that I left Bogart's was because I got tired of having security meetings. I had a 65-page EOP, Emergency Operating Plan. It was aerial maps where the ambulances have to go, where the police, where the evacuation points were. I had to build that, and I had to refresh it every year. And the whole time I'm looking at it, I'm like, I hope I never have to look at this again because I hope I don't need to use it. Then it occurred to me the only reason that these things exist is so after it's all over, you can go, well, we had this plan.
But let me ask you this from a venue standpoint. You could put whatever you want, and I've talked about this in class because even though I'm not the venue, I try to educate the participants and fans so that when they're coming, they know exactly what to expect,
right?
All that. But let me ask you this. You can have, I don't care what number of pages, if the people who are working that event, operating the venue, a lot of which today, correct me if I'm not, volunteers, part-timers.
Very often.
And you can do what you can do to train them, but if they don't really pay attention, if they're not really comfortable executing what you've put on paper, you can have whatever document you want. It's not going to matter.
Well, and that's with, you even heard some of the people of this Astro World saying they hired me for security 2 days before.
Right.
There was hardly any training. Now, I don't know who this goes to. I cannot imagine, having worked for Live Nation, that they didn't have some sort of say in this and that they didn't have some sort of very highly trained people involved in this. But the best laid plans, no matter like what you said, I had a staff of, I'd say 24 people that went through the full on training. And I still knew if I had 20 people there, if the shit went down and everybody had to go to their respective places and do their things, I know out of 20 people, there would at least be 3 that would just vamoose with the crowd.
But
here's you can't even count on that necessarily. And the people that were doing it knew that too. We could look around the room and go, they're not going to do what they're supposed to do.
But I wonder this. Is it so with something like AstroWorld, for those who do not know, it was a massive, basically outdoor general admission, open the gates, everybody flooded, rushed the stage, all kinds of stuff. People were just getting trampled. I mean, if you haven't checked it out, honestly, just go to your computer and Google what went wrong at AstroWorld.
Yeah, it'll take up your entire hard drive.
And it really is. It's interesting with some of the videos there of people in kind of the hip-hop community who were just filming, etc., showing you everything from when they entered to what occurred. Some of the most frightening video to me was fans going to camera operators telling those people, literally with the one woman, that somebody's dead. And basically being
Excuse me, there was a Smurf.
But let me ask you this.
There was a Smurf.
Does it simply come down to this, no matter how much training, no matter how many people, when you have a crowd that large, and it was basically sold out and then some, 50,000 for one day, 50,000 the next day. I don't care how many people. I don't care what kind of EOP you have. When that occurs and you lose it, you're done.
Yeah. There's a tipping point with every crowd. That if the crowd, think about this, like I talked about, if I had 20 people on staff, okay, we talked about how important it is for the people that you understand what the people up front are there to do and what they're there, and they've been waiting the longest. They're the most excited. They're not leaving. Right. You need to befriend them up front in the barricade because they are your eyes and ears. They become additional security, believe it or not, for you. Because if the whole place goes to hell in a handbasket, 1,500 versus 20, not good odds.
You have no chance.
So there you go. So you have to manage expectation, as you said, but you also have to manage the people that are there.
Yeah.
And from the very beginning, the chaos at the opening of the gates absolutely should have been a dictation to the event operators and to the artists, and I'm going to get to them in a moment, about what's about to happen.
But the chaos at the gate where basically people just stormed in, knocked people down. Clearly the people at the gates were just at that point, what are you going to do?
You don't have the event. You stop the event is what you do then. Not after it's 4 hours in or 6 hours in, or walk up and whisper into, what's his name?
Travis
Scott into his ear that something's going on and he still plays for 30 or 40 minutes after that. That's not, because then if you try to stop it,
it's too late.
Then it's real
then
trouble.
It's going to become, then you're probably going to have a worse scenario than what you already had. But the one thing that I wonder out of this is, so I've had people ask me a myriad of questions. One, dating back to, I hate to even bring this up, but the Riverfront Coliseum, the Who tragedy. How can there still be an event where there is that type? If you remember that was essentially primarily outside of the doors getting in. This was more in up to the stage. But how are there still able to be those type of general admission events today.
Well, if you look at indoor arenas, they've very slowly started allowing some general admission on the floor just a little because of the WHO tragedy. So the difference, as you mentioned, excuse me, between what's going on indoors and outdoors, well, now outdoor venues are going to have to start dealing with this the way indoor venues have for decades.
Right, sure.
So it's going to change the way the outdoor festival is done, because even think about this. Rock on the Range up at the Columbus Crew,
Map-Free Stadium.
Map-Free Stadium.
Became that, right.
You had to have a special wristband to get down on the main level. Now, that could have held 5 times the number of people that were allowed down there.
Sure.
But all those people were pushed up front.
Right.
But they had a place to, if they could get out, they could go back and lay down and take a nap or whatever on the main floor. But they controlled the number of people down there with those wristbands. There didn't seem to be any form or function or fashion of control of that here at all.
Gates down, go.
And this is where...
Well, let me tell you, though. I went to the Darius Rucker concert that was at the Pit at Elder, okay? Granted, Elder High School is not accustomed to hosting concerts.
Right.
Now, they had a company come in and run it. And I got to tell you, they had everyone in the seats, but I was in the standing area that was kind of the second. There was up front the quote-unquote pit.
Sure.
And then there was the second standing area. And they had them, cordoned off. And I got to tell you, and maybe it had something to do with demeanor of crowd, age of crowd, whatever. No issues whatsoever. Nobody was doing that.
Are you saying there was actual mutual respect for one another
there was,
as an attendee?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, they even noticed that, like, up near the very front of the stage, where I guess Darius Rucker wanted more people, so they started to allow people from the secondary to go up there. People just walked around and walked up front. But I think it's probably I would say I was probably the average age. You know what I mean? 45 to 55-ish. Different crowd, different demeanor. But my point to you is that there was one that was GA that was very ruling.
Well, and again, if you say certain things, you're going to be vilified. And then a conversation becomes about what you said and about whom you said it, instead of about 8 Smurfs or 12 Smurfs or however many Smurfs there were. And Smurfs were the code word over the radios to be used for dead. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that.
Yeah.
And that which tells you, if you have a code word, you're obviously at some point in time anticipating that may occur.
It's not if, it's when.
Right.
And that, again, one of the reasons I got out of the business. But I'm going to tell you, it has everything to do with herd mentality. It has everything to do with I'm more important than you. But what's interesting is metal crowds tend to take care of each other.
Right.
I mean, somebody might walk out with all their teeth in their hand or a bloody nose, but they had the time of their life. And there's a chance that when they fell down in the pit, someone else picked them up and put them back into the mix, because that's what they wanted to do. And I've watched this battle between metal crowds and hip-hop crowds online about who cares about who, but it all boils down to this. There are 2 things you need to know when you go to a show. First thing you do when you walk in anywhere, show or otherwise, figure out how to get out. You need, the minute you walk in, you figure out how you're going to get out, and do not plan to go out the way you came in.
Right.
Because if something happens, everybody will run right back to where they tried to get in, and that's going to be a nightmare. So you figure out another way out. That's one.
What percentage of people do you think honestly do that?
0. No one. I mean, look at the way people snooze through the thing on an airline when they're telling you where the exits are on the wings.
But do you think that's
or when you go to a movie theater?
But is that because on the airline you figure if this plane goes down, you can give me a flotation device and it doesn't matter?
Yeah,
I think there's some of that.
Robert Schimmel used to say your seat cushion can be used as a flotation device. He goes, until the sharks come, then it's a bobber.
I just think that. But you're right.
In the event of a water landing, there's not going to be one.
Innately, people today don't pay a lot of attention to anything that is detail driven.
Okay,
what's number 2?
There are 2 exits in the back, 2 over the wings, and one gaping one over the top of the thing.
Well, I wonder too when they say if you're uncomfortable sitting in the exit row, do people even know that they're seated in the exit row many times?
They make you verbally acknowledge that you are willing to help. That's
what's number 2? So I check out how to get out.
So the number 2 is always remember this: above and beyond everything, the person on stage, your favorite artist of all time, who you spent probably more money than you should and waited forever for this show and waited to get it, doesn't give a shit about you. They don't care about you. They want security for themselves and their Kardashian girlfriend or their Jenner girlfriend and their people. They don't care about you at all. It is the venue's responsibility to care about you, and this is where the breakdown occurred. They don't care about you. They're not going to stop the show on your behalf. They're not going to do the right thing. Very rarely, maybe a 0.5%.
To me, the most distressing was, again, check out what went wrong at AstroWorld, and you'll spend hours if you can, because I think I hate to say this, it's a case study, correct? But what was two things caught my attention. One is the security, some of the security on site, making sure that the VIP people were quickly cordoned to safety, right? Again, to your point. And then secondarily, show going on, performer going to after party. I mean, think about that. If you
Drake went to a strip club, I
correct.
think.
I can't imagine if you were involved in any kind of an event where people there to see you predominantly lost their lives, you would be out partying. I mean, that to me, that tells me all you need to know.
Yeah, and I think his baby mama, the Jenner, is it Jenner?
Yeah, it's one of the Jenners, right?
Kylie Jenner, is it? I don't know.
It's irrelevant. Who cares?
She was showing video of the crowd and an ambulance coming through the center of the crowd, which later, out of respect, she took down.
Well, yeah, big respect. Right. But
they don't care about you, so keep that in mind. Keep your distance. Don't put yourself in a situation, because the only one that's going to take care, there's no one's going to take better care of you than you.
Well, that's
nobody.
And I guess that's where, to me, and here, I'll just tell you this. If I had been at that concert waiting to get in, no matter how passionate I would have been about the artist, and I saw that beginning, I would have gone nowhere near the front of that stage. Nowhere near. To me, when I look, I will tell you that. That's why I stopped going, and it may be the most safe environment now. I stopped going to NFL games because I just looked at people around me, many of whom were so loaded and becoming so violent. I just didn't want to be a party to that.
Yeah.
I mean,
you mature past that, but there's a certain amount of getting up and getting some on you or whatever. But I don't understand. Like, they were saying things like, if your arms were at your side, you couldn't get them over your head.
Right.
If your arms were over your head, you couldn't get them down to your side. There were young people that were killed. I think, 10 years old, 13 years old.
The 9-year-old that was on his father's
shoulders. Yeah.
Right.
And that sort of thing. And I know you want to take, and when I took Minnie Finn to see AC/DC for her first show, we sat as far back in the back as we could get, and she had aircraft carrier headphones on, and she was back and watched, because she could see it all. She knew the songs. She doesn't need to get up close and see Angus Young. I don't even want to see Angus Young up close anymore. To be honest with you, I've been to haunted houses. I know what he looks like.
I'm still vilified by a couple of my sons for we went to the Papa Roach Shinedown show at BB&T Arena. Now, bear in mind, we were way back in a suite, but back, right, to where the still was like, and they were, they were young enough that it was too loud. But, in a setting like that, but you're right, common sense. Well, like, I wouldn't have taken two of my young sons at the time and go, hey, let's go up near see how close we can get.
And here's something else just to think about. Again, your favorite artist, that's awesome. You want to get up front. You want my daughter goes to these metal shows, and she'll get right up. She gets right up on the rail, but she said she went to the Blue Ridge Rock Festival, that 4-day shit show that they had down there.
I was just saying that did not get rave reviews for operations.
For operations, but no one lost their life. People were there helping each other, and she said by day 2 or 3, she knew the names of all the guys in the barricade, and they knew her name. And she knew if she needed to get up and out, they'd get her up and out. And they were helping people do that. She actually crowd surfed her way out of the pit to get out. She just said, I want out. And they crowd surfed her out, which, it is. I taught her as well as I could teach her about her own safety. And I said, use your head for more than a hat rack, or you're going to get kicked in it with a steel toe boot. But it comes down to you. Again, right back to nobody's going to take better care of you than you. Keep your head on a swivel. Know that the person on stage doesn't care about you. So if you're up there to try to get their attention and have them look at you, they're not. They don't care. Being up there doesn't do you any good whatsoever.
As they say in the business. Quick time for reset.
Oh, yeah, reset. Yes.
Gamble and Fin's larger than live. We're
way
talking
past.
Yes, that's okay. We get into this. This is important. And I do have a question for you moving forward. But Larger Than Live, that's what you're viewing now on YouTube. Tell people we're on YouTube now. We've made the transition. Subscribe from Facebook and Meta to now YouTube. We do it each and every Monday at 7, and we'll have a little Thanksgiving message for you a little later in the week as we enter into Thanksgiving. Sure. Find out what Fred likes to eat on the holiday.
Look at me. It's probably not hard to figure out.
And don't forget, obviously, Thursday we're normally on Reality Check 9 to midnight, not Thanksgiving night. We were originally scheduled to be on Friday from 3 to 6, sitting in for Eddie and Rocky on 700 WOW, but the UC football game at East Carolina kicks off at 3:30, pregame at 3, so we're not on Friday, so you have to wait. I know that crushes you another week for Thursday night. Yes.
Something to be thankful for, though, as we always are, especially that and also if you're looking for office space, go see our friends at Fueled Collective in the Commons there, the Rookwood
I was there
Commons area.
last week.
Yeah,
had a meeting there. Yeah.
Did you have a cocktail? Did you get there?
I did not. I was a little too early. I mean, usually like 10 a.m. I was
at a cornhole tournament. There's no such thing as too early. Well,
that's
for a cocktail.
different. A meeting, cornhole tournament too. But let me ask you this pertaining to the fallout from this show. What does this mean for the future of concerts, typically festival-type concerts?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I know what it meant for indoors because you can control that.
Right, sure.
I really don't know what it's going to mean.
But, I mean, I'm thinking to myself, if I'm a promoter, if I'm a venue, and I've got a show where you're going to have those types of numbers, and they want those types of numbers because it's all about
them.
Yeah, right. You have to have them make
numbers.
money.
Yep.
But I'm thinking to myself, man, would you want to be the one? You want to be the insurance company that gets the call about putting the rider on that sucker? I mean, that's what I mean. I just wonder how much impact this will have on future shows.
Well, we'll find out once these lawsuits get settled, to be honest with you, and who knows how long that'll take. $2 billion.
Right, that's a lot.
Right now in lawsuits. But I don't know because you have like, let's say, Heritage Bank Center now. Okay.
Yep.
That's you kind of know what to expect when you go to a place like that. And as you said, that had as much to do as how the crush of people getting in because they didn't open enough
big
doors.
Right. That had
and
to do with
like
just too many people with not enough access points.
Which is interesting because the general admission part of it inside got blamed because people were trying to rush to get up front and get the best spots. So again, use your head for more than a hat rack. That sort of has fixed itself and is allowing itself to expand. Then you have a middle type place that's outdoors but still reserved seating like Riverbend.
Sure.
So they'll have a small pit maybe in the front where of general admission, but it's very carefully monitored as to how many people.
Under the pavilion, you can't even enter the perimeter without having a ticket.
You can't, and then you have to have something special if there's going to be 100 fans right up front. That kind of thing.
Wouldn't it be just
that's easily?
Wouldn't it be just easy to eliminate general admission? I mean, I realize
but you're not going to be able to do that. That's the third part. When you get into a large field where they're setting up in the middle of a field.
Okay, but let me ask you
They're not going to set down chairs. Can you imagine that?
No chairs, but let me ask you this, kind of what they did at the pit. Couldn't you cordon off? Couldn't you essentially not
using
allow?
What?
Well,
what that would be impenetrable to the person who wants to make their way
when you're but again, that goes back to people and personal responsibility.
And there's your problem.
Well, I get it.
If you're going to let the inmates run the asylum or be in charge of their own safety,
which essentially
guess what's going to happen? Right. So I don't know if you are running. I mean, Rock on the Range at the Map-Free Stadium. That's the closest to controlling that.
Right.
But if, to be honest with you, if all those people up in the stands decided they want to be on the
right.
floor, they'd have been on the floor.
I hate to bring that up. I mean, if you're at, I'm using Ohio State football. If you're at Ohio Stadium and 20,000 people go, you know what, I want to get on the field. Well, you've seen it. Please stay off the field. At the end of the game, when somebody went, no chance.
Well, you know how they're starting to regulate that? Fines.
Yeah.
Was it Tennessee where a bunch of people ran on the field after that, and the university had to pay $100,000 fine?
They've done everything from greasing the goalpost to take immediately when the games are. Well, I remember when UC beat Wisconsin in football, they literally found the goalpost like around campus. Later, they did. They talked about that. I mean, it's crazy, but I just the poor people who unfortunately died. I mean, died. This isn't like I hurt my arm, I twisted my ankle. They're
the injuries. I haven't even talked about the number of injuries. But there's death involved. And to your point about, well, I'm just going to go to the after party and hope the news is good.
That's just
you're done. You're done, son.
If you are a fan of that artist, and after this could even stomach listening to 1 second of their whatever, that just beyond me.
But keep in
beyond
mind, Dave Chappelle, far more dangerous. Far more dangerous.
Well, speaking while we're
Words
on events, how about the SUV or truck into the parade?
I didn't see
over
that
the weekend. Oh yeah,
I didn't see that.
Once again.
But again, back to what I talked about, and this has all come full circle now. I spent all of my time at Bogart's in security meetings. It was no longer about the music for me. It was about security.
It's no fun.
When I have to get a hold of Homeland Security and the local sheriff's department and the local police department and the local fire department to warn them about someone that's booked 6 months from now because there's been gang threats against them and we don't know, or somebody's coming from such and such a city and they had a gang issue, so we need to do. And you have to vet all that out. Or they spend all this money to make the sidewalks 18 feet to match the street. There's no curb. It makes it really great for pedestrian events. But now, because the sidewalk is 18 feet, I've got to worry about putting big flower pots and planters and all these things there to keep that exact thing from happening. Somebody in their Odyssey just barreling down the center of the sidewalk while 1,000 people are standing out there waiting to come in and see some horse's ass YouTube person. Here we are on YouTube.
Which is why
I meant Facebook.
Here's a shameless plug. I've got my Northside Shakin' Records hoodie on because here's the deal. Much safer. I can go in there. I can purchase and listen to that artist at my leisure. In the comfort of my own home.
But again,
yes.
And this is, I think, how we can end because we're almost at 30 anyway. And there's a whole other thing that I wanted to get to, but we're not going to, but that's fine because this is very important. We talked about this. The big giant baseballs down at Great American Ballpark that you see that are so picturesque around there, those aren't there for decoration. Those are for safety. Those will keep a large vehicle from penetrating the inner sanctum of that. So when you go places, look for things like that. And you are your own best source of security. Don't put yourself in those situations.
Just pay attention. Be alert. It's no different than when you're in an airplane, when you're in a such situation like that. Take a look around you. And you know what they say, and I know, and I'll throw this to you from your days at Bogart's. If you see something that doesn't look right, point it out. Point it out.
We went through those training. If you see somebody in line that's fidgeting around or wearing clothes that don't fit the season, for instance, or go say something and have somebody come by and walk by because it's easier to stop a problem before it gets in the event.
That
is it.
Never fit the season, right? I mean,
no.
but I
they
wear
barely
next
fit
to
your body. Oh no, that's me.
All right, now I got to wing a cup. I'm just gonna fire. Okay,
all right,
so at least I'll get my $1 back because UC will be number 4 Tuesday evening, tomorrow night.
That doesn't matter tomorrow.
It will be. It'll be fine. They're fine. Everybody else will take care of itself. Nice try, Oregon. There's that. The Bengals have a big win on the road for the Bengals.
Yeah, against a terrible team.
Against a terrible team that has all kinds of problems. Big Ben Roethlisberger is not done.
No,
he's not done. Dude, he looked, I was like, wow.
Well, he didn't look great early on. He threw some of those
50-plus times again.
And they shouldn't do that with Najee Harris. They shouldn't have to they shouldn't be first and goal and not run him once.
But
saved by a penalty.
But they were almost bailed out by perennial losers, known as the Chargers. Who had that massive lead, and next thing you know, oh my God, Pittsburgh's ahead.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter they put 11
and unfortunately, points. I'm sorry. Now,
good call on my survivor.
Well, but wait a minute. I was flawless up till then, and thank you, Tennessee, the lunkhead Mike Vrabel. But I got to be honest with you, the Browns were no gimme. They should have lost. They really should have. Multiple
and the Ravens
times.
Should have lost. Also,
do
so
you
if
know
you took the Ravens? They should have lost too. I can't. What did the Harbaughs sell their soul to the devil?
I don't know. But
what is going on with those two?
Oh my God! Did you see what turned out to be the game-winning pass by the Ravens? Like the Bears. Yeah. The dude was like falling out of bounds, threw it up, and the guy for the Bears. I mean, anyway, I've got this one for you. Do you know what all the teams playing on Thanksgiving have in common?
They're all losers.
They all lost this week.
Yeah, they all lost.
Everyone.
But this is a tough week coming up because everybody's playing each other is like 5-5 or 5-4.
Let me tell you something. I would rather eat tainted food on Thanksgiving than watch the Bears and Lions.
Oh, brutal.
Honest to God.
All right, well, we're going to have to end this episode and put our
are?
heads together so you can tell me who I need to pick in the coming week, because I'm one of very few people left at all. There's still about 4 or 5 people with no losses.
Right,
but
okay,
there's
so
only
we're
about
still going.
15 people still in this thing. So anyway,
Right.
I'm sure we'll work out our private business off the air.
We
but
will.
I think this is the first show we've actually done that had a message for you to help
Yeah,
you. So it's
hopefully,
not just about us venting on things that we can't stand.
Right.
Good luck to you, Travis Scott. Good luck, Drake. $2 billion later. Of course, it'll come out. The only people that will suffer on this will be the fans. But take care of yourself. Use your head for more than a hat rack. Don't put yourself in a bad situation, and don't falsely believe that anybody cares more about you than you should for your own security.
The people there to attend that will be the ones now paying for the lawsuit with future. If you would go to that again, you're a complete moron.
No, you've seen AstroWorld, I do believe.
Yes.
All right, we're going to wrap things up, and stay tuned, because a couple days from now we're going to have our Thanksgiving extravaganza.
Big
we're
group
looking forward to it, absolutely. All right, Season 3, Episode 4, Larger Than Life. He's Gamble, I'm Finn.
And we are out.